know what it means. No. Hello, wonderful patrons. Hope you're well. Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep Patreon. And today I'm going to be talking about the new EP from Space Laces. Well, kind of new, you know. It came out about a week ago now, Connor. But anyway, High Voltage. This is the Sophomore Never Say Die EP and Sophomore EP ever, actually, from Ian Slider, aka Space Laces. Arriving almost 4 years after his debut, that being the now famed and renowned Overdrive, one of the undoubted best debut collections I think bass music has ever seen. In the time since Overdrive, he's gone a long way to satiating our need for more music from him with his Voltage mini-mix series. 3 ID-stacked journeys that each showcase some of the best bass material of the last half decade. There's also been the odd single here and there, as you all know, but the question from fans and followers was what the next outlay of full tracks was going to be from him. I went over this in my Understanding Space Laces video, which you've all seen by now, of course, but I wondered, was it going to be another EP, maybe even a debut album? It felt like something more substantial and definite had to come before Voltage 4, basically. And here we have it in the shape of High Voltage, which was announced with Love on Valentine's Day by Slider and Never Say Die, and which dropped last Friday, February 18th. Now, thinking back to Overdrive, there are words that I think would come to mind for most in describing it. Epic, statement-making, gargantuan, big in stature, just a proper piece of work with a lot of body to it. Things I'm not sure one could say for High Voltage, which is in no way to say the tracks themselves aren't good. They very much are, and I'll get to that in a bit. More that it just feels like an assortment of tunes as opposed to a unified body of work. Tracks that it feels like he just wanted to get out there as a stopgap to kind of tide over and keep fans happy. Many of whom grow more impatient by the day, curious as to how and why exactly he isn't releasing more often, like, it isn't your music, mate. But again, not to take away from the individual tracks here, because a lot of the material from Slider on this EP is typically exceptional. Kicking off with Droid, one of my favourite IDs from Voltage 3, and which is fleshed out very effectively. I enjoy how the snippet from the mini-mix is kind of divided up within the first drop. It catches you off guard a bit on first listen. The house has got a fantastic bounce to it, very cheeky, really gets you in the mood while still being quite gnarly. The breakbeat breakdown for the second drop is a brilliant switch, very clever way of refashioning that main idea. And the progression to that second drop, you can really appreciate the execution of everything, the overall production, if you will, just more minimal, stripped back, and such a complete feel to that sound. Oh, it's sumptuous. That being said, it depends on what you're looking for, of course, but for me, that introduction, as an introduction to the EP as well, lest we forget, far too short. It's good for a quick blast of energy at the beginning to just get on with things ASAP and get to the point of the EP, and that does work for what is quite a short-lived and neatly packaged tune. But for me, that introduction stands as the first sign that this is more a mere conjoining of tunes and something with a bit of lineage to it, or a sense of story or character, that kind of thing, which is what Overdrive is. The very brief and glossed over midsection that we get on Droid as well only adds to that. But things move on swiftly to Run DLL, which again is instantly identifiable from the off. Innovation-wise, I find this one pretty unremarkable for the most part, but if you don't enjoy that about Space Laces' tune, as we all know, the sound choice and usage, the design, is always going to be on hand to grab your attention, and that's what we get here. Most impressive to me about this cut is how he keeps that white noise effect just so controlled and bearable from start to finish. Like, it's clearly a harsh noise, and it has no place sounding so comforting, yet it really does. Do you know what I mean? Like, each hit is like being enveloped in a warm blanket when really it should be like a rabid cat scraping down a chalkboard. The second half I find a bit less engaging, you know, not quite as active, but the sound choice still superb, the flow as well, and the overall sound just as full and rounded. I mean, the definition here of the design, considering how much is going on, how much is being lobbed in here, is incredible. We then get the full version of my favourite Space Laces ID, and for me the best track on the EP, Not Bees with Watch. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of worried how this one would pan out, how the new surrounding sections would back up the amazing idea, but it's brilliant pretty much start to finish. The introduction for starters with the pounding beat and the fuzzing bee sounds hovering above the tune, which I only noticed on my 5th listen of it, just a great little addition. And I would absolutely argue this is up there with the very best build and first drop combinations that he's ever done. Has his sound ever had this much punch and force to it, and movement as well, and sounded this clean? Like, I'm not so sure, but you know, please do let me know what you think down below. I love how it continually spirals out of control and is so dizzying, but in the best way, and the Nicolas Cage sample as well is just dropped in perfectly before each drop. The pacing of it, the overall energy is just palpable, irresistible, and for me anyway, impossible to put down front to back. And yeah, it really is just fully charged space laces in full flow. Right here. The only issue I have is the transition into the second drop, which to me doesn't feel quite as organic as the first. I think I prefer that drop as a progression to the first drop, like what we get in Voltage 1. But the outro, which we also get on Voltage 1, is on hand to bring the tune back into focus and sharpen the senses a bit. Super guttural, feel like my soul is just getting sucked straight out my body, and yeah, just chugging along like a vibrant, electrified, futuristic, intergalactic locomotive, you know? It's the perfect way to end it. Yeah, this will be one of my tracks of the year for sure. The EP then goes down quite a distinct and I think necessary mood shift with track 4, Splinters. This ID rounds off Voltage 3 and is essential not only for the EP but for Slider's discography and bass music overall. It's a standing alone in an icy open field on a grey winter day, contemplating everything about life kind of tune, I'd say. The EP suddenly opens up into this vast plane of chilling, somber emotion, yanking you away from the banger-centric vibes to plunge you right into nostalgia. Love how this instrumental glides along in such a carefree way, whether it's more slow-paced or a bit quicker. I mean, the musicality just gives you that feeling of genuine freedom. Not as much a fan of the stop-start second drop, I have to say, although I am getting used to it the more I hear it, and the midsection just before that is one of the best sequences on the whole EP. Got a real time-stopping quality to it, it's just managed perfectly. And rare that we get a moment of relative quiet like that from him, so refreshing as well. Right placement as well in the track listing, and just a reminder of the fact that predominantly heavy electronic musicians can make more reflective, melodically melancholic art very well. Let's see more of it, please and thank you. We then arrive at the closer, and perhaps the most highly anticipated tune by the general bass populace, and that is of course Disco Bloodbath. The idea of which I've always felt a little bit torn on, and that ill feeling does translate somewhat into the fully fledged cut. Don't get me wrong, the euphoria, the exaltation of it is one of the best aspects of the whole EP, absolutely, but the first drop has always felt bare and empty to me in quite a significant way. Still a lot going on, of course, but it's those gaps at the end of each bar that disrupt the flow and make it quite hard to get into. It does pick up in the second half with more space filled and it becomes a bit more complextro-y, if you will, but that can come across as quite forced at points, and so again, albeit in a different way, it doesn't quite have the requisite flow to really feel it. However, as I alluded to earlier, the synth usage, stunning, musicality-wise, majorly on point, the midsection, really well executed, and yeah, just got a bit of an iconic feeling to it overall, I would say. So, still quite a lot going for it. And so speaking generally, does High Voltage feel like a particularly unified body of work with lineage and a story permeating it? Not really. Does it feel more like Slider just wanted to round off a few tunes and get them out there without anything notable stitching them together? Yeah. But is that a bad thing per se? I don't think so. You know, the tune's still mostly fantastic. Absolutely. He's in a tricky position whereby he's clearly a perfectionist, but also has to release some of these IDs to keep people happy. Two things which aren't that compatible, so I think we have to be very thankful for everything we get from him. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have the stature of an Overdrive, but if it's a stopgap to bigger and better things, or even more of the same in the immediate future, if I'm being honest, then it has to be one of the best stopgaps to have ever existed of all time. Bottom line, I think it's amazing to hear some of his most famed IDs fully fleshed out and given life beyond the Voltage series, because as we all know, for him, for many reasons, finishing music isn't an easy thing. So the fact that this project is out, I think, you know, as a thing in itself, has to be lauded for sure. The design of the collection, the attention to detail, front to back, is crazy good and maybe unparalleled in bass music right now. There's variety in genre and mood, and I also love the way the tracks get longer as they go on, and something I haven't touched on yet, some hilarious staple vocal samples dropped in here and there to boot. This EP also has the most consistently great builds I've heard across a project for quite a while. I have my drawbacks, you know, stuff I feel could be added or reworked here and there, but for the ideas he's gone for, how it's all made, the mix downs, everything that comes with that, it's completely top notch. So yeah, is High Voltage a collection for the ages? No, but potentially timeless tunes making it up, 100%. And it does leave me wondering just what we're going to get from him next. I imagine, given this post, with him saying the first one that we'll get a couple or maybe a few more little collections like this, with Vaultage in the title of each one. Again, likely just collections here and there without a particular story to them, but hey, you know, if it means that he's got a better idea as a result of which tunes fit for that kind of thing, and which fit better for an album, or something even bigger perhaps, then yeah, I'm all for it. And I think whatever way you look at his situation off the back of this EP, the future is definitely beyond bright for the Space Lacers project. But there we have it, people. My thoughts, my review, my extensive rounded coverage of the new Space Lacers EP, High Voltage. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching and tuning in. Let me know what you think of the EP after a week of it being out, and multiple listens, I imagine, down below in the comments, your favourite track as well. And yeah, thank you all for watching again. See you in the next one, whatever that may be. And yeah, another week of coverage, streaming, content to come your way from your boy. Peace.